What's up, Chicago? It's your boy Maze Jackson, and you are live in the studio. That's right, we are live in the studio for the Maze Said radio show and podcast. And boy, we got a banger for you tonight. Every Monday from 8 to 9 p.m. right here at Intellectual Radio, we try to bring you the real dope to keep it raw in your mind and let you know what's going on. Let me tell you what, y'all, I'm fired up. I'm excited about my show tonight. You know, typically we talk a lot of politics. And as y'all know, I was involved in some real political stuff over the last few months. And in my travels, I met what I may have found out to be one of the most interesting brothers in the city of Chicago. So as I was chit-chatting with this brother, it turns out that I found out a little bit more than I anticipated and realized that this guy was somebody that I think that Chicago needs to know and understand and may have some of the keys to figuring out what's going on in Chicago and helping us deal with some of this violence. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, because I know y'all have been waiting all week for this one, I have live in the building, in studio, with me, the Don Dirk of the, I'm not even going to say infamous, I'm just going to say of the Black Disciples Street Organization. And I got his key advisor, his chief advisor, Bo Stringer in the building. How are you fellas doing tonight? What's going on?
We all right.
You got to talk into the mic for
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
I appreciate your service.
Good evening, man.
All right. Yeah, we're going to get right on into it. I'm going to just jump right on into it. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, I was involved in probably in the most historic and expensive campaigns in the history of Illinois state politics. And during that time, I had the opportunity to, as I was trying to navigate my way through the Chicago political scene. I've done a lot of stuff on the west side, but as I made my move to the south side, I you know, sometimes you got to get to know some new people, find out who's doing the moving and shaking. And one name consistently kept coming up for me and kept on coming around, and people kept saying, man, you got to meet this guy. You got to meet this guy. And so, everybody said, man, I had to meet everybody. And I said, well, I'll take a moment out. And so I took a moment out, and I had the opportunity to introduce this gentleman. We met, and I was having some challenges and some things going on, and I was just trying to figure out what was the most efficient way to deal with those challenges. People, places, and things. And this brother came to me and was like, Brother Mays, I can help you solve some of those issues. I can help you sort some of that out. And so, you know, we developed a rapport. And over the course of the campaign, and I tell you, I'm a campaign guy, and I kind of make friends on the campaign, and then I cut them off after the campaign is over, turn the doors, lock the lights, and shut the doors, and then I go on to do what I do. But I kept saying to myself, I'm going to have to build a rapport with this brother, because I think that he may have some solutions and may be able to help our community in the long term. So with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, I'm introducing you to Don Dirk. You may have seen him. You know what? He told me, now I'm telling y'all, and I give him a hard time. I want y'all as is family, I want y'all to see this. So I got this magazine. He was, everybody was saying, man, you got to meet this guy. And I was like, man, yeah, I'm not hearing all that. Everybody tell me I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. They bring in this As Is magazine. And I didn't look at the back cover at all, right? I didn't look at the back cover at all. This didn't have nothing to do with the sales. We ain't going to say this had nothing to do with the sales. We going to say it was all this front cover. But it turns out that Don Dirk has one of the highest selling As Is magazines in history. So it really got me to poking around and digging around and starting to ask some more questions. And I consistently, as I asked people, and I would be talking to random people, they'd be like, I was like, man, you ever heard this dude Dirk? They'd be like, you mean the Don? I was like, man, you ain't no Don, the Dirk. And consistently, as I kept going through the city, I kept finding out that people kept referring positively to this brother as the Don. And so as we move forward to build a relationship and to try and figure out how could we get to the grassroots community, how could we hire some of the young people that are on the streets to maybe give them jobs so that they don't have to create havoc, this brother came out and helped present us a plan. So with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, Don Dirk. If I had a studio audience, they would all be clapping. They all be So, let's just start with the story. Don Dirk, why do they call you Don Dirk? And why should our viewers care anything about who you are?
First of all, let me give all praise to my God who sits at the head of my life, that have given me longevity with my lifespan. Next, I would like to give hail and high honors to King Dave, King Hoover, King Shorty, Leonard Longstreet, Marbell, Scan, and a couple others, Godfather. And I would like to give hail and high honors to them brothers because they was effective leaders. And we all know as leaders, we have to make decisions that a lot of people won't go with. But our decisions be made for the peoples and because of the peoples. And it's to see them through, to make sure that we save lives instead of taking lives. To go on with what you just asked. What was your question?
The question was, why do they call you Don Dirk? And why should the viewers at Intellectual Radio care?
Well, long ago, see, King Dave, well, just say I grew up around King Dave. King Dave and my brother Pluto.
So let's stop. I'm going to stop right here because, see, I think that one of the things that you got to do, what we try to do on Intellectual Radio, is give people information. And so a lot of stuff that I think you know off the top of your head, people don't know. So let me give my listeners real quick. So Don Dirk is one of the co-founders of the Black Disciples Street Organization. Am I correct?
That's correct.
All right. And for most people, when they think of the Black Disciples, tell me, because when I think of disciples, I think of Larry Hoover and GDs and kind of like that. So let's start with that. Like, I've heard of GDs, BGDs, all types of something with a disciple. So are they all the same?
Yes, they all fall up under the 6-pointed star of David. And King Hoover, King Shorty, Prince Oldtimer, Godfather, all of them, they came from the 6. The 6-pointed star represents King David. King David is known as the King of all kings because he brought many different nations until our foes, and they was called branches of the disciple nation. And because King David had a lot to do with bringing them in and leaving them with the leadership they had or placing leadership amongst them, he was known to be the King of Kings.
Okay, so he was the King of Kings. Now tell me, where do you fit into that? And tell me kind of how does that fit? You said branches, so tell me a little bit about the branches. And if I'm asking too much, you tell me, Mays, you asking too much. I don't want to be in violation of nothing. I don't want to have no problem.
Well, that's where where King Hoover come in. That's where you had a brother Leonard Longstreet who actually started the Devil Disciples, and King Dave came in after him. You had many other leaders that was before King Dave, but King Dave the one organized it all. I came in because King Dave died in 1974. When he died, a lot of the older guys, they dropped the ball. You see, and the nation had fell almost into ruins. And I came back from California. I had bad life up there, but got caught up in a case. And I was running from here on some charges. So I got caught in California. I was extradited back. The Disciple Nation was in ruins. So me, brothers like Mickey, Bull, Candy, White, a lot of us, we put it back together. And we put King Dave's name back out there. You see, we made King Dave live for today through us, because just like you got a lot of people saying, well, they don't know me, but they didn't know King Dave, but they represent King Dave and honor King Dave through the teachings I put down. See, they didn't know nothing about King Dave.
So stop, because you done dropped a whole bunch of science in a very short amount of time, and I think I gotta make sure. So if you are watching, I'm gonna try and slow this down. If you are watching this live, I need you to ask me your questions live, and I'll get the questions to the Don for you, and we'll actually ask Bo as well. So now, when did you join the Black Disciples? Or excuse me, was it the Black Disciples or the Devil Disciples?
They were Devil Disciples, and Gazato, my brother Pluto, was the leader of the Speed Kings. And at times, he would run the city for King Dave. And King Dave, he was in our house a lot. He slept in our house. He ate from our table. Plus, I rode around with him a lot. People at one time thought I was his son. That's how much we was together. You see, it was another guy named Charlie Parker, which he adopted. But nevertheless, our relationship grew from there. And we went on to become friends, and things, happened. But with that fact, everything, King Dave died when he died in '74.
Now, did he die from a gang?
No.
Okay.
A whole accidentally bullet wound he died from. And when he died, like I said, the nation went into ruins. And
so now let me back up again. So now you got King David, who has organized all of these various organizations and brought them under the Six.
Yeah.
Right? So now he's organized these organizations, brought them under the Six. How many people are we talking about?
We're talking about thousands of peoples, because we're dealing with the Latin Maniac Disciples and other branches of organizations that falls up under the Six. You see,
now how did they get under the Six? Like, how did they get up there? Were they asked nicely? Or were they?
Well, we all, it was like we became friends. And King Dave talked to him. Prince Oldtimer talked to a lot of people, such as Larry. When Larry was a stone, it was Prince Oldtimer that first brought him across.
Back up. See, there you go again. So you said Larry and Stone. So now who's Larry?
King Hoover was originally a Stone, an ambassador for Jeff Ford. Something happened that brought him over to our side. King Dave went on to crown him in 1969 King of the Gangster Nation.
So now wait. I thought King David was the king of the nation.
King Dave was the king of all kings. You see, King Dave wasn't the only king dealing with parts of the disciple nation. You had other leaders, but King Dave was recognized as being the king of all kings.
Got it. So now, for my viewers, you just got a piece of history there. So, Larry Hoover, who we all know, or I always grew up and thought he was the boss. I mean, I knew about the 6-point star in David, but I always thought that Larry Hoover was the guy. We come to find out that Larry Hoover initially was a member of the Blackstone Rangers?
Yes.
With Jeff Ford?
Yes.
Okay. Man, okay, we're getting some knowledge and some information here. So now, how does Larry, okay, we talked about that. So something happened between Jeff Ford and Larry Hoover that caused Larry Hoover to become
the king of the Gangster Nation.
Of the Gangster Nation.
Yes.
Now, did he already have that nation, or did they put him on top of it?
No. He already had them as stones. They were stones, and we fought them up until '69 when we unified. When we unified in 1969, we became one. When I say one, we were brothers. You know, King Hoover ran. You did the Gangster Nation, just like other leaders. You had King Hitler, who ran the Latin Maniac Disciple Nation. You had brothers like Hawk and Richard Strong running the Deuces, the Blacks. They called themselves. You had Mr. Soul, Pee Wee, who first brought the souls out. And all these guys became a part of the Disciple Nation up under King David rule.
Okay. And so then once King David took over, so now you got King David and he's got his nation. And then, so now how does Larry Hoover leave the gangsters? Larry Hoover leaves the Stones to become a gangster.
Well, he just dropped out and got with us.
And how did that then affect the relationship between the gangsters? Now, were you all at war all the time between the Stones?
Yeah, we were at war all the time because they were Stones, and we were fighting Stones during that time. So yeah, you know, it went on like that until they got with us. And when they got with us, the war ceased. We was together.
Wait, okay. I just want to make sure I got this clear. So when Hoover came to y'all, the war ceased?
Yeah,
okay. And so, but Hoover was he still cool with Jeff Ford?
Yeah, everybody was cool. King David was cool with Jeff Ford. You know, King David was cool with Jeff Ford, Eugene Harris. We all of us, we cool with different organization leaders.
Okay.
You see, but we are what we are.
There it is. So now, here we are. We now have so now tell me how does Larry Hoover then become the person that everyone now kind of recognizes as the man for the people under the six? Because it seems to me like he's overshadowed at this point.
I think that the news media have a lot to do with falsifying information. King Hoover do have that leadership role over those that follows him. He has that leadership. But when it comes to the Disciple Nation, they have their own leadership. But we are one. You know, in mind, body, and soul, we are one.
Okay.
You see.
So it's all right. So here we go. So now here we are. Now let's talk a little bit about Don Dirk himself. So Don Dirk, tell us a little bit about your history. Tell us about how did you rise through the ranks to become the man? I know you lived there, but man, you had some stories. You done been around. You ran the county. You had a lot of good stuff that you were telling us. So I want to hear a little bit about kind of how did you start? You started at age 9 years old.
Well,
how does that work?
It was like this here, that I believed in him. We had dreams and programs. We were supposed to have been a part of corporate America. Ever since that I come to know or knew King David, it was about programs with him. He made the community care for one another. We kept the communities clean. You see, he made sure that the needed family had clothes to always send their children to church and back to school in. You know, he did a whole lot, you know, along with all the other organizations participating in looking out and caring for one another. You see, and, you know, our program was everybody go to school. Go to college if you can. We were supposed to have been lawyers, judges. We were supposed to have been a part of corporate America. What's going on today ain't our MO. See, what can happen is...
Wait, stop. Because that's going to be for the second half of the show.
Okay.
I need you to tell me Don Dirk.
Let me go on and say this. When King Dave died, I was in the penitentiary first. I got out. And I was out only for a little while before I got caught up in some shootings. I left on the run. I got caught and was brought back from California. And like I said, the nation was in a turmoil. You know, King Dave's name was being disrespected. People was walking on his name. I mean, had members scared. the leaders that was here with King David at that time had dropped the ball. You see, so like I say, brothers like me, White Cloud, Mickey Bull, Candy, and others, you know, we got together. You see, and they say, man, you the only one left, only you know, so, and we was on F3 at that time.
F3, man.
F3 in the Cook County Jail, Division 1.
Okay.
I had just been extradited back into the jail. So my first title was Minister of Defense. So our work was hard. We fought against everybody that disrespected King David's name, you know, or the disciple name. I put things back in its proper perspective, and I didn't send them. I fought a lot of battles on my own. You know, I mean, I fought giants, and I'm not bragging about it, but I mean, you had a lot of people scared to face these guys, because these guys had reputations, and these guys were scared, and they were letting things happen. They were stealing from one another, raping one another. They were doing a lot of things, you see, that wasn't the disciple way. So we started bringing back the love, the laws, the teachings. So I started writing about King David. I started writing about how we felt about things and what wasn't permitted. You see what I'm saying? Then I came up with a prayer, you know. And through all of that, we started locking, getting ourselves back together. And from there, I became Don Dirk.
So when was all this occurring?
This was in 76 all the way to 78. I ran the nation, and then I brought King Shorty in. I couldn't get out of jail, so King Shorty.
Now, King Shorty would be, for those of you that don't know, Shorty Freeman?
Yes.
Okay.
So he became the king.
So
I put the crown on his head.
So you crowned Shorty Freeman king of the BDs or king of the disciple nation?
King of the disciple nation.
So now, I just want to make sure I got this right. The disciple nation is the same thing that King David was.
Yes.
So at the point in which you become the boss of the disciple nation, you are the king of kings until.
No, King Shorty was just one of the kings of the nation.
But you can't. But can you crown a king of a GD, not a BD?
No. Understand this.
Okay.
I crowned Shorty king.
Okay.
In 1974, now I crowned Shorty in 78. Our teachers reflect that. In 1974, see, in 1971, some betrayal went down. And when this betrayal went down, some of our leaders, you know, tried to get with Jeff Ford with Larry. So when
they tried to get with him,
get back with him, they were turning on King David, you see. So the gangsters didn't go for it. You see, the ones that was running them at that time, they weren't turning back stone. You know what I'm saying? So this guy, Irvin Green, became the king of the gangster nation.
Okay.
He lived until 1972.
Okay.
See, in 1974, we was in Stateville, you see, and Hoover was finna get hit because they were saying that Hoover was saying that King David said that if he ever died, Hoover would be the king, which is a lie. We know that because King David always said only a king can run a king. Hoover never said that. They were trying to just hit Hoover and get Hoover out the way.
Now, when you say hit, whack.
They was trying to whack him.
Okay.
You did, and I stopped it. You see, so Hoover said, no, I don't mess around no more. I said, hey man, I said, these guys say you they king. He said, no, I left it alone. I said, man, is this y'all king? They said, yeah, now mind me, I done went against the disciples. You see, real disciples that been in jail for a long time about him. So anyway, you dig what I'm saying? It didn't go down. So Hoover got his crown back in 1974 in D-House. You see, now you ask the question, how can I, crown a king? When King David died, I'm the one put the nation back together. I was running it all the way until I put the crown on Shorty's head. Okay. And I was still running it. Shorty never gave me a title. I was already running things. You see, I was the Don. when I made Shorty a king. You see what I'm saying? But when Hoover became a king, I wasn't a Don at that time.
Got it.
You see what I'm saying? I didn't become a Don until 1977. That's when I became the Don. You see, other than that, I was the Minister of Defense.
The Minister of Defense. So, ladies and gentlemen, you are watching live Intellectual Radio, www.intellectualradio.com. We are an iHeartRadio station. It's your boy, Maze Jackson, and I am live in studio with Don Dirk and my main man, his advisor, Bo Stringer. We are talking about kind of the history of the Black Disciple Nation, and then we're going to talk a little bit about kind of how we've evolved. So, now, Dirk, how much time did you spend in the joint?
Well, off and on, I say I was locked up 35 years of my life.
Good God, man.
I done did 9 years. I done did 5. I done did 4 years, 3 years. I done did different bits.
Now, Dirk, in all of that time, do you think it was worth it?
No, because at that time, I was living a lie. I was living what the TV was presenting. The TV told us we was Al Capone. We were Pretty Boy Floyd. We took on them names, not knowing that wasn't none of us. You see, there was another way to get us to commit crimes and genocides against our own. It wasn't until later we started wising up and understanding. We keep doing the same old silly thing, expecting different results, and we ain't got rich yet. Something was wrong.
So, Dirk, let me ask you another question, because you know, I look at. First of all, I refuse to call our organizations gangs. I just fundamentally refuse to call them gangs. The organizations that we're referring to now, because to me, they were no different than The Godfather, all of the stuff that I saw a long time ago, except they had the opportunity to transition. So they had a generation where they lived that life, and then they up and out of their kids. And then their kids became lawyers and doctors and all of that stuff, just like you was talking about. Where do you think the disconnect came? Why didn't we ever make, because you know, I read the stories and I look at all the stuff, man, there was a time in my life when I was extra fascinated, and you would see the Rukins had all of this stuff, and you'd go over to the fort and they had a big old, and people was making money, and I remember when the brothers would be having them big old chains, and let me even back up, because I remember when I came home from college and the amphitheater was open. And you know what? It would be somebody that would bend on the block, and they would drop off tickets to the guys on the block. And the guys on the block would be selling the tickets like they were selling work, right? They would be getting. What happened, and why wasn't our community able to make the transition? The Kennedys did. Prohibition and all that stuff was the same stuff.
You have to understand that when the LSDs formed in 1969.
Back up. See, there you go with all that stuff. What was the LSDs?
Lord Stones and disciples came together. And they came together to vote one way, to stand for their communities. You see, to create jobs, work sites.
When did this happen?
In 1969.
In 1969, the Lord Stones and disciples
came together under one roof.
To vote?
No, came together as LSD. So that means when voting came, we got together and picked who we was gonna vote for, who we was gonna stand by. That's what all that was about then.
What happened?
What happened was
because that's the move.
See, the government wasn't gonna let that happen no more. The organizations had got too big. You see what I'm saying? And they weren't finna let us. They do the same thing all over again. So what happened was they started locking up a lot of the leaders, taking fathers out of their houses, locking them up because they wanted what was going on to happen. You see what I'm saying? They created this genocide amongst our children after they took all the men and leaders away. You see, now They done called us gangs. You see, because that's where they money at. Many of us, they can get in them penitentiaries. They getting in them penitentiaries. That's how they eating and getting paid. You see, that's how they creating employment for themselves. So the whole thing is now, you see, to keep us from unifying again. And you got a lot of young guys out here. These guys don't know the truth. Their fathers was taken away. Their uncles, their cousins, all of them was taken away. A lot of these guys ain't disciples, stones, the Lord. These guys just using the name because they in that community or something. You see, they don't even know the law. Some of them say, well, I don't know Don Dirk, I heard of him. They don't know King David. The only way they know King David through what I done taught them, through the teachings I put out. You see, ain't nobody else did what I did to try to bring harmony of peace. I'm trying to create jobs and everything else. Well, I'm trying to tell them I paid my dues, but y'all not to have to go through what I went through. I'm telling you don't do that, because if you do that, you're going to jail and you're going to be killed. Look, let's do this. You see, and then we got the opposition. The opposition is the negative people. The negative people is the ones helping these government people keep the confusion going. They putting pistols in their hand, they putting packs in their hand, and then they losing their women, their wives, their children, and with a promise. If you go down, I'm going to be there for you. But they ain't there for them when they go down. My thing is this here. You see, if I can't bond you out, if I can't take care of your family, I'm not going to let you do what I ain't finna do. You see what I'm saying? See, so if I'm finna get a job, I'm finna tell you come on and get a job with me.
And so let me just say this real quick, because I need to jump in right now. Now I'm going to tell you, Don and Bo and Don sat in my office every single day fighting to get jobs for the shorties in their neighborhood. I'm going to tell you, some of the shorties look like that might have been their first job, and if they wasn't doing what we asked them to do, they might be on some other program.
Yeah.
Right? So now tell me, let's talk about, because you hit on something. So when I grew up, right, you know, every once in a while, depending on, I used to hang out in Arkell Gardens a little bit. You know, I did a little something, but back in the day, it seemed like Chicago was famous. And right now, even if you talk to somebody from New York, LA, whatever, you say you're from Chicago, they sit up a little straight. They tell you, man, wear your hat straight, right? They like, straighten up your hat. Don't break your hat to no side, no anything. Where do you think it all broke down? Because, now let me say this. I want to make sure that I present true facts. The fact of the matter is the murder rates were higher in the 80s and 70s than they are now. So I want to make sure that we're clear, that we frame that. But I also say that a lot of times those people died back in the day because we didn't have the medical technology to keep them alive. So, what do you account all of this murder and mayhem from? Right? I always thought that, and we have people that have been asking, one of the things they've asked is, what was there a code of the streets back in the day? And if it was, how come it doesn't exist now?
It exists. Let me show you something.
Mike.
It exists. Let me show you something. The Fed is playing games. Now just pay attention. They monitoring Facebook, what they call that stuff, chat stuff. They monitoring everything. They see people on them Facebook with guns. They see people talking about what they done did. Just like back in the day when they were doing that stuff to Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Right. They allowed in this stuff to happen. When they can go get them people, they can stop this if they want to. They ain't trying to stop this. They creating a lot of this. You see what I'm saying? And the guys that's running around here talking about they got spots, they self-appointed leaders. We don't even know who half these guys is. We don't even know where they come from. Why you think a lot of guys don't deal with them or talk to them? But we reach out to everybody. We try to sit them down. We try to educate them, you see, and try to get them a better way to go. We even went so far and funded a work program ourselves a couple of summers ago. It was about 50 to 60 guys. Even the Chicago police came out there and took pictures, counts, you see, and CAP said they were going to fund the program. Soon they found out who was running the program, they bagged all the way up.
So now, Dirk, how do we get our arms around this violence? And then I'm going to come back because I'm going to ask you another question that everybody has been asking, and I hear people talking about all the time. But Dirk, what can guys like you and Bo do to help us try and solve this scenario? What you think, Bo?
Well, first and foremost, y'all have to really understand what's going on out here. First and foremost, everything we dealing with in the city of Chicago is by design. Ain't nothing strange or spooky about none of it. See, in the beginning, it was all about family and community. To this day, right now, it's still about family and community. We have created an organization called Developers Dreams, which deals with recidivism of men and women going in and out of prison, as well as our at-risk youth, okay? Secondly, we have formed another organization called Black Men United for Peace. So we out here on the ground changing the demographics in our community, and we're not being funded for none of the work we're doing, but we are instrumental in stopping a lot of violence. There's a lot to be going on that ain't going on, and that's because of the work we putting on, putting down on the front line out there. Now, as far as why things the way they are, okay? Understand, our youth didn't wake up one morning and say, let's start killing everything, let's start robbing. No. The conditions are created for the sole purpose that we are building more and more prisons, so we have to populate these prisons. The only way to populate them is to create havoc in a community that gives you the body to place in these prisons because they're not relieving the overcrowdedness of existing prisons, okay? So this is what we're dealing with today. And until we able to educate our youth as well as some adults as to what's going on out here, ain't nothing gonna change. Now I do say this here, the only solution to the problem is the problem itself. Meaning until the powers that be come in and say, okay, we're gonna deal wisely with these youth. We're gonna provide the necessary things they need to not do the things they're doing. So you know what they're doing. You know what they need. See, we grew up with centers, we grew up with after-school program. All of that's been taken away from our youth.
So let me stop right there. So, Bo, with all of that, Bo and Dirk, and then because you got people are blowing up over here. So, with you having all the centers, because I hear that a lot, right? I hear from the guys in Cabrini and all of them, they say they went to summer programs and they took them to camps and all that stuff. Right. So, how did you miss the boat? How come it didn't work for you two?
Well, it did work for us.
Okay.
See, you have to understand, the life we lived is the life we chose to live. You see what I'm saying?
Got it.
See, it wasn't that we wasn't raised properly. We had mothers and fathers that gave us proper guidance and direction. But we were more attracted to the street life. So we made a conscious decision to be a part of that life. And anything that we chose to be a part of, we had to be the best we can be in it. See, David always taught us that it's about family. See, we not only had our biological family in the house, but we had our extended family in the street. And a lot of them was less fortunate than us. So we had to embrace them even today. We allowed people that ordinarily you wouldn't even, man, you see them and you turn your back to them.
Man, and I saw that firsthand.
Our house. We moved, man. We live like, just to say,
go on, say it,
speech. We live like Mexicans. We'll be 30, 40 deep in that house. Breaking bread and doing whatever. If we have to put you on the floor on a cot, that's what we're gonna do, cause we ain't gonna allow you to be in the streets. You, your family, none of that. But we got that from David. And David, he taught that to the Don, and the Don taught it to us. And it's a way of life with me today. That's just how it is. You know, it's about the people, for the people, and because of the people. This gang banging, we ain't with none of that. We are an organization.
Real talk, I appreciate that. So let me ask y'all a question, because this is the $1 million question. We hear it all the time. You see it in every 4 years around election time, somebody come up with this idea. They say that if we let Larry Hoover or Jeff Ford out, that they could fix all of the stuff that's going on and they could get everybody in order. Do you believe it, and do you believe it? Why or why not?
I believe
So
that.
the mic.
I believe that they would be a big party to helping create this peace and this workforce that's needed. But per se, I don't think that they present stop it. But they present with the other leaders, you know, would bring things together, because, you know, that's just like you got a lot of peoples, because they don't want to follow our guideline. They holler there by King Dave or there by KSK. But when the real line is, we all know dead men don't change living men conditions. But it's their thought they left, you know, that program they left. Like right now, we take guys to school. We pick guys up from school. You see what I'm saying? That scared to ride the bus or come out to even try to go to school. We pick them up and take them to school. We help guys get jobs. Right now, record speak for itself. So, I don't know. We have a lot of negative people, like I say, that they talk this stuff, but if they mean well, then it seems like everybody would get together and grab their sons and get out here and walk their walk with us, you dig, instead of talking, trying to put us down, you know, trying to find fault. Get out here with us.
Man, so ladies and gentlemen, you are talking, I have in the building the Don Dirk from the Black Disciple Street Organization and his chief advisor, Bo Stringer. And we are talking about what can be done in, you know, these organizations. So let me back up. So you all, so doing the best that you can do to be the best criminal that you can be, and you doing the best to participate in that lifestyle. Can you tell me how you feel like it's all added up? How do you look back and say, good job? Do you look back and you say, man, what could we have done? And how do we take what we have now and use that to build a stronger black community? I'm going to start with that first. Let's go with the first question. Do you regret? Tell me what your thoughts are about kind of what you did, or how your lifestyle is. And if there's something you could change, would you change it?
No, I wouldn't change anything.
You got to talk to Mike.
No, I wouldn't change anything. What can happen in my life is a part of my life, and it was meant through my trials and tribulations to happen in order for me to get to where I'm at today. You see what I'm saying? Where I'm at today, I understand everything. My downfalls, my faults, whatever I done had, I understand them. You see, that's why I'm trying to do better and get others to do better and not make the mistakes I made in my life.
Well,
I wouldn't change nothing, you know, and that question always comes up, but I tell people, if it wasn't for my trials and tribulations up to this point, I wouldn't be the man I am. You know, so good, bad, and indifferent, whatever I had to endure to get to this point, you know, it is God's will, cause anything, diamonds have to go through a pressure cooker. You see what I'm saying? It's always rough until till it's purged. So we've been purged. So if I had to do all of this over again, I'd do it good, bad, and indifferent.
so now, tell me this, guys. We got so many young soldiers on the street that are willing to murder, death, kill each other. But if a white boy walk in the room, they go in the other direction. What do we have to do to turn our young people that are out here that are willing to do whatever to our community into people that can be protectors of our community?
I disagree.
Talk to me.
Now, you say young soldiers that murder, kill, and all that. If you really do the stats, you'll find out that a lot of people is killed by osmosis, because we're dealing with a slew of cowards. And I hate to say it, but it is what it is. Because if they were ever cut from the cloth I'm cut from, no innocent women and children would ever get shot. I'm gonna get my man. That's just how it goes. This is what we dealing with is the act of cowardice, you know. And I'm not encouraging people to get no hard to do this dumb stuff, because I asked the question of all of you. I say, when you got that gun in your hand and you pull that trigger, how many people do you kill? The average one say one. I say two, because not only did you change somebody else's life, you changed your life. You know, and I don't think youth play that tape out. I don't think they really look at the demographics of what happens when you pull that trigger, man, because seriously, your life changed forever. If you get caught for what you doing, then the fallout is your family, the fallout is their family. You can't bring them back, and you can't come back. You know, so I think if we encourage people to think about their behavior, or what it is that they are attempting to do, or the reasons or the rhymes behind why they do what they do, it might stop some of this madness. But when it's business, do we really want to stop this here going on in the black community? I mean, that's the big $1 million question. Do we really want to stop it? Because this here can stop. This can stop.
So let me ask a question, because you know, Dirk and Bo, one of the things that we talked about a lot was, and I'm a big guy for this, is social media. What role do you think social media has in playing into what is going on in these streets? You know, I was looking at, today I got more different followers when I posted this, and I was going through some of the Facebook pages, and I was like, man, y'all don't go to jail. Y'all better take that down. Y'all don't go to jail for putting that up there. Tell me, what role do you think that social media has in playing and escalating these situations? Because I'm seeing, like, I was watching one person's thing, and she had like 7 different street fights from Chicago that were live, not from media takeout. And I'm feeling like somewhere in here, social media is doing something along the lines too.
They doing what the Fed want them to do. They creating a lot of this violence. And they create the leaders that they want to create. You see what I'm saying? Just like Gangland came on. This other stuff came on that had King Hoover on it. That wasn't, they took his stuff and cut it up. You see what I'm saying? That man cared more about people than anything. You see, they create monsters. You see, and anybody doing something right, they don't want to put them up there. You see, they ain't trying to put me up there because they know I'm talking positive. If I was talking about busting heads, killing people, and forget the babies, you see, they'll hurry up and put me on. You see, but talking positive, they don't want that. They don't want that at all.
You know, I'm a conspiracy theorist by nature, but I don't, you know, sometimes I just don't want to believe that it's a conspiracy. But as I sit here and I listen and I look at this violence, I grew up in Bolingbrook. Illinois. And I just don't, I feel like the options that some of our shorties have, man, are so limited. And I just think, like, really, you thought your answer to that was to pick up a gun and shoot somebody?
I got a question for you.
Yeah, come on.
Remember when they took King Hoover and all of them off the streets and all them other leaders they took off the streets? Remember when them people got on TV and said, everything we wanted to happen, happened. We knew they was going to kill each other. We knew they was going to fight for the turf and the drug sales. You know, they said, but it got out of hand. And now we can't handle it. We need money to do this with, money to do that with. And every time the community, the citizens gave money, 60,000 or more millions. You see, they said they somehow messed up the money. Yeah, you messed it up because y'all wasn't trying to stop these activities. All you had to do was open up some centers, some boys clubs, some YMCA. You could have put that money into good investments. You see, but they didn't do none of that. You see, they kept saying they didn't open up no drug programs, no rehabilitation centers. Where is the money the citizens keep giving them? Now, my last question to all of that is this here. You see, that the Chicago, I'm not going to say police department, I'm going to say the government, those that's responsible for this genocide that's going down, black on black crime. You see, because it ain't just us. Because these people don't have no money to pay their bills. You see what I'm saying? They don't have no way. You see police, yeah, sitting all on different blocks. But still people's getting killed. Still they ain't catching nobody. You see what I'm saying? They ain't trying to. You see, half the time they know who's doing it. And they're not locking them up.
Man, if you don't tune into the May Said Radio Show and podcast every Monday night, then you missing out, because we are telling you the real truth. And I got less than a minute to go, but I got one more question for you, because this has been bothering me too. So as we see the street organizations starting to, I don't see anybody. Back in the day, it used to be like, man, you're lit. Your literature, man. And everybody had a little piece of paper, they papers, and they practicing. They was making sure that when they. So I don't know if there's literature these days. I don't know if the young people, when they come or when they get involved, what role are these Mexican cartels having in our communities? Is any of this violence that we're seeing got anything to do with these Mexican cartels trying to consolidate the drug game?
I wouldn't contribute nothing to the Mexican cartel. Anything that comes into our community, best believe is government sanctioned. It's a design, seriously, to lock us up and kill us as a people. See, when somebody know who you are and you don't know who you are, and they're going to do everything in their power to keep that knowledge from you. Man, we're dealing with a sleeping giant in the United States, and that's the black man. Okay, our youth is asleep. This is that generation that they talk about in the Bible, the lost generation. Okay, they're gonna stay lost until some of us start waking them up. If don't nobody speak truth to power, then there's no power. There's no truth. See. We have to speak the truth and don't be scared of the consequences of our actions.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have been tuned into the May Said Radio Show and podcast. I got live in studio the Chief Advisor, Bo Stringer. I got the Don Dirk in the building. I'm your host, Maze Jackson. You hear my super producer Earl in the back. We ain't even do too much talking today, y'all, because we was doing a lot of listening. Stay tuned to the May Said Radio Show and podcast. We are here every Monday from 8 to 9. Now, if you missed this, it will be downloaded, and you can download it from my Facebook page tomorrow, www.facebook.com/MazeJack. I will have it edited and chopped. You can get this. You can listen to the podcast live on iHeartRadio.com, or you can download it on You can download it on iHeartMedia or iHeartRadio.com. I'm your boy Maze Jackson. This has been the Maze Said Radio Show and podcast. Always giving you the best information. Stay tuned for us next week when my boy Charles Thomas will be back in the studio with me. And we're going to continue this series, Dirk. So you're going to have to go find me some more of the real guys so some of these young guys can understand the connection, because we're going to play Know Your History. It's your boy Maze Jackson. Stay tuned until next week.
Peace.